You know that feeling when you wake up and just for a second, you forget that everything has changed. You reach for your phone, force of habit, check the time, 6 a.m., and then it hits you. No meeting, no commute, no inbox waiting, no boss expecting anything from you. You're retired. So why doesn't it feel the way you thought it would? I've been thinking about this for a long time, and I want to tell you something that nobody told me. Not my financial advisor, not my doctor, not even my wife of 47 years. The hardest part of retirement is not the money. Now I know what you're thinking. Easy for you to say, I've got a mortgage, I've got savings, I'm scared to touch, I don't know if my money will last. I hear you. And we are going to talk about all of that. Every single piece of it. The social security decisions nobody explains clearly. The savings you've worked your whole life for. And the fear that comes with finally spending them. The investment choices that made sense at 45, but feel completely different at 70. We are going to sit down and go through all of it. Together, honestly, in a way that actually makes sense. But first, there is something deeper going on. Something that affects every financial decision you make in retirement, and nobody talks about it. Stay with me, because by the end of this conversation, you are going to understand something about yourself that will change not just how you feel, but how you think about every dollar you have left. The first week felt like vacation. You slept in, watched TV without guilt, told yourself, this is it, this is what I worked 40 years for. The second week was a little quieter. By the third week, you started checking your old work email, just to feel something, just to feel useful. Sound familiar? I remember my first Tuesday as a retired man. It was 11 in the morning, the house was spotless, my wife was at her sister's, and I sat in that kitchen chair, the same chair I'd sat in for 30 years, and I had absolutely nothing to do. And for the first time in my adult life, I was scared. Not scared of running out of money, not scared of getting sick, scared because I didn't know who I was, without somewhere to be. I had spent 42 years being the manager, the provider, the man with a plan, and now the plan was nothing, and nothing felt like falling. But here's what I finally figured out. And it took me 2 years, a lot of quiet mornings, and one very honest conversation with my old friend Ray to understand it. You didn't just retire from a job, you retired from a version of yourself. And that right there is why this transition is so much harder than anyone ever warns you about. And here is something most financial advisors will never tell you. Your money decisions in retirement, they are 80% psychology and only 20% math. When you are anxious, you make bad investment decisions. When you feel purposeless, you either hoard money out of fear or spend recklessly trying to fill the emptiness. When you are mentally clear, grounded, purposeful, you make completely different choices with the same dollars. That is what this channel is about, getting the inside right, so the outside takes care of itself. For 40 years, when someone asked you, what do, you had an answer ready. That answer was your identity, your value, your place in the world. And then one day, that answer is gone, and nobody prepares you for the silence that follows. Meaningless, psychologists call it an identity vacuum. When the role that defined you suddenly disappears, your brain doesn't know what to do. It keeps reaching for the old routine, the old purpose, the old version of you. And when it can't find it, that emptiness moves in. My friend George spent 40 years as a high school principal. The day he retired, his wife threw him a beautiful party. A week later, he called me, said he felt useless, said he woke up every morning feeling like he was supposed to be somewhere, and the feeling never went away. George was not broken. George was grieving a version of himself that no longer existed, and nobody had told him that was normal. And you know what George did in that first year? He made 3 bad financial decisions. Pulled money out of his retirement account early, just to feel like he was doing something, just to feel in control of something. That is what unresolved retirement psychology does to your wallet. Your brain is wired for purpose. For decades, your job handed that to you every single day. A reason to get up, a problem to solve, a contribution that mattered. When that disappears, your brain goes through something very close to withdrawal. The same way a musician feels lost without music. The same way a teacher feels strange during summer. It's not weakness, it's biology. You spent 40 years wishing you had more time, and now you have all of it. And somehow, that's the problem. Too much time with no structure isn't peace. It's just a different kind of pressure. And that pressure, that quiet anxiety, is the number one reason retired people make emotional decisions with their money. They buy things they don't need. They avoid looking at their accounts because it causes dread. They give away money they can't afford to give, just to feel needed by their children. Sound familiar? We are going to talk about all of this. If you have felt any of this, the emptiness, the restlessness, the quiet panic of too many free mornings, the fear about money that never fully goes away, even when the numbers say you are fine, I want you to hear this. You are not broken. You are not bad with money. You are not failing at retirement. You are going through one of the biggest identity transitions a human being can ever experience, and it is affecting everything. Your peace, your relationships, your financial decisions, all of it. That's not weakness. That's just the truth nobody ever told you. So what do you actually do with it? I'm not going to give you a stock tip. I'm not going to tell you to stay busy. What I'm going to tell you is what actually worked for me, and what I've seen work for dozens of men and women in the same position. 3 shifts, small ones, but they change everything, including how you relate to your money. Shift 1, stop retiring from, start moving toward. Most people spend the first year of retirement thinking about what they left behind, the job, the income, the structure, the identity. And that backward gaze affects every financial choice you make. When you're living in the past, you either freeze, too scared to spend even when you can afford to, or you overcompensate, spending on things that fill the void, but don't fill the soul. The shift is this. Stop asking, what did I used to have? Start asking, what do I actually want this next chapter to look like? When you get clear on that vision, your financial decisions get clearer too. You stop spending on the wrong things. You stop hoarding out of shapeless fear. You start spending intentionally on what actually matters to you now. For me, it was a small woodworking bench in my garage. Not expensive, not impressive, but it gave me purpose. And when I had purpose, I stopped making anxious decisions with my retirement account.
Shift 2. Rebuild your rhythm, not your schedule. Your brain doesn't need a packed calendar. It needs rhythm. And here is something interesting. When people have no daily rhythm in retirement, they check their investment accounts obsessively. Every market dip feels like a catastrophe. Every down day feels personal. But when you have rhythm, when your days have shape and purpose, you stop watching the market like it's the only scoreboard that tells you how your life is going. One thing in the morning, one thing in the afternoon, one person to talk to each day. That's enough. Start there. Shift 3. Let someone see you figuring it out. The biggest mistake I made in my first year of retirement was pretending everything was fine. To my kids, to my wife, to my old friends. Oh, I'm great, living the dream. Meanwhile, inside I was quietly drowning and making financial decisions from that drowning place. The thing that saved me was one honest conversation. My neighbor Frank, he'd retired 2 years before me. One evening I walked over and I just told him how I really felt. He looked at me and said, "Brother, it took me 18 months to figure out who I was without that job. You're right on schedule." That one sentence gave me more peace than anything else in that entire year. And the month after that conversation, I finally sat down with my actual numbers, calmly, clearly, without panic. And for the first time, I understood them. Before you go to sleep tonight, write down one thing you have always been curious about. Not a financial goal, not a number, just a curiosity, something you always wanted to try. Because here is what I have learned at 75 years old. The clearer you are about what you are living for, the easier every money decision becomes. Purpose is not just good for your soul, it is the best financial advisor you will ever have. Write it down tonight. That's the seed. And next week, we are going to get into the money, the real conversations, how to think about what you have, what you need, and how to make it work for the life you actually want.
You worked hard for this. You saved, you planned, you showed up every single day. And now you have what most people only wish for. Real time, real money, and the freedom to use both. Don't waste it feeling lost. And don't believe for 1 second that the best years are behind you. I'm 75. I've made good decisions and terrible ones. I've felt completely lost and completely alive, and I'm still figuring it out. Honestly, that's the best part. If this felt like something you needed to hear, there's more coming every week. No fluff, just honest talk about the psychology, the money, and what it means to live well right now. Pull up a chair. I'll see you next week.